I'm Megan.
I'm CJ.
And I'm Erica.
And this is the Her Podcast.
Okay, so you know how I was laughing at the beginning of the last episode and you were like, why are you laughing?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I'll say it on this one. So as we were like sitting down, because today's an interesting conversation, probably the most interesting conversation we're going to have on this podcast thus far, for sure. Mm-hmm. And I was like thinking about in high school, I dated this guy. He was a dink. And we made plans for New Year's Eve. And on New Year's Eve, he was supposed to come get me and we were supposed to go to a party together. It's very romantic. And he just like never came and he never showed up and he never called me. And I spent all night being like, what the heck? Like, did something happen? Like, what's going on? And then the next day he was like, hey, can we talk? And I like knew it wasn't going to be a good conversation. And so, you know, you're like sitting there waiting for him to like pull up in his mom's car because we were like teeny boppers.
Yeah.
And I remember like walking out there and just feeling like, you know what's coming and you know it's going to suck. Mm-hmm. And that's what I was thinking
About this episode.
I would like to say, though, the women I'm sitting down in a conversation with are not dinks.
I would like to clarify there are no dinks present.
He was, but
No
they
dinks
are not.
allowed.
My mom will hate that I said that on an episode.
Dink?
Yeah, she hates when I say that.
It is kind of like one of those words that's like, ugh. It's like juicy. Not my favorite.
Marie Burger. Anyway, so that's why I was laughing because I was like, as we were sitting down, I was like, it kind of feels like when you know something's coming,
Yeah.
don't really want to do it, but it needs to happen. So that's what we're doing here today.
That's what we're doing.
Oh my goodness, all the people are sitting there going, what? What is happening
We
right now?
are.
I don't even know how we say it. I don't know.
What's that song?
What's that?
We remember
The graduation.
all
Oh my gosh,
the
we should
times
sing. We should sing.
be together.
I don't know the words.
Da, 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 da,
Get your lighter out. Get your lighter out.
Lighters. Cell phones.
Okay. Now that you're all like, what is happening?
Fuck are you guys talking about?
Big changes are coming.
Yeah, and I think that we, like, before we preface and jump and dive into the directions, you know, I think that our intention in this episode is to have as open of a conversation as we can. Like, you guys are literally going to get to see a little bit behind the doors.
Yeah.
Right? Of conversations that we're having.
Yeah.
And we want to be, like, transparent and upfront and, you know, as we can be. So
And I think we appreciate this community so much that we want to be transparent and kind of just like involve you guys in all the conversation and the shifts and stuff that are happening.
Mm-hmm. And I think the intent behind having this, we should just say what's going on. They're
oh
all
my
like,
gosh. I won't say it.
the
Somebody else
ratings
has
are
to.
going through the roof.
We're all
right
pregnant
now.
at the same
We're all
time.
Magic.
Can
Just
you
kidding.
imagine?
It's about to get even more
Whoa.
emotional. No. But
3 pregnant ladies.
no one should let 3 pregnant ladies have a mic.
No.
I was going to say, I think what we've really learned, or what I've learned in my history, which was a part of like talking about this on the podcast and recording it, is when we can like share things from our perspective, from our mouths right here, there's not a lot of room for drama and for crap. And
Yeah.
I think us 3 are a united front.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So who wants to, do you want to say it? Or do you want all of us at the same time? Do you want
3,
us to
2,
sing
1,
it?
and CJ's gonna say nothing and just go, "Yep."
Yeah. That's on brand.
Do you want to sing it? Do you want to?
Do I want to sing it? This is so weird.
I know.
Okay.
I don't know if we say it and then unpack it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's
It's
just
probably
say it
what-
and unpack it. I'm going to just repeat everything CJ says.
Okay.
Okay. Have fun editing this.
I know. It's all good.
Nothing's
yeah.
getting edited out.
Nothing. This is you guys
All
are
the
along
laughs.
for the whole awkward
And
ride.
awkward. Megan, you go.
Okay, so we have been together for just over a year as a trio as the podcast. And through that time, we have all grown, I think, exponentially and worked together through some pretty tough conversations and some things that have come up and have always supported one another and put each other's relationships first. Like our friendships come first and navigate any conflict and stuff like that comes up together. And we've kind of come to a place where some things are working really, really great, and then some things just don't feel aligned for all of us. And I'll speak for myself, but I can say like that I'll speak for all three of us in saying that, you know, a lot of our values are similar and some of them are different, and that's not right or wrong or indifferent. That's totally fine. But for the context of the podcast and kind of, you know, the conversations that we want to have and the direction that everybody wants to move, there's just like a little bit of misalignment, I guess it's fair to say. And so after some conversation and some reflection, I have decided to step back from the podcast permanently and kind of cheer CJ and Erica on going forward, because the podcast is incredible and we've, you know, worked really hard to build something great, and I believe in it full-heartedly and want it to succeed so much. And I just feel like where I'm kind of at in life right now and the way that I kind of want to do things just feels a little bit different. And so rather than continuing to go forward till we get to a place where there's resentment building or conflict and hurt feelings and all of that kind of stuff, we are adults.
Yeah.
And we made adult decisions that relationships come first. And my relationships with these two women, for me, are more important than sitting behind a mic.
Yeah.
I guess, if that, to say it in a eloquent way. I don't know.
Yeah.
We're filing for irreconcilable differences, but we...
Common law.
I can't believe none of us are crying right now.
I almost cried.
I was like, waiting.
Listen, I've
There's
cried
been
a lot.
tears.
Well,
There's
maybe
been
we should
tears.
share that photo you screenshotted when we
I
had
will.
this discussion on Zoom and we were all like bawling our face off.
Yeah, because
very
here's
funny.
what I'll also say. Like, we are breaking up as a team, but we are not breaking up as friends. And so...
And that's what was most important to us.
Yes.
I think that's the piece here that actually is what was really interesting. If I can if I can interject now,
Take
is
it
like,
away.
well, I was thinking about what you were saying because I'm like, you know, it's been I think a humbling experience because we just had on someone who talked about a partnership breaking up, and then they turned to us and they're like, "Oh, you guys are gonna do great," and
we were like...
and I think I don't think we'd had this discussion yet.
No,
So we're
we
like,
hadn't.
yeah, great, right? And so now you kind of sit there and go, oh, like what happened here? And I think this is just sometimes a part of business, unfortunately. And I think what I'm learning from this is, that I love Megan a lot. And that, like she said, she's cheering us on and she wants a podcast. Like I would echo that back, that like I'm very excited to see what happens with you and like where you go. But I think sometimes you hold these like two places where you're like friends and also business partners, and sometimes things just like don't jive great.
Yeah.
And I think you said it really well that we've had a lot of conversations this year and we've had a lot of like working through things. And it's just gotten to a point where I think we all can like really look at each other and be like, you know, we all did the things, we all made the little tweaks we thought we needed to make.
Yeah.
And
We put in the work.
we put in the work.
We put in
and we
a lot
had
of
the
work.
hard conversations.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, many many tears, many hard conversations,
Maybe a few swear words.
maybe some frustration, maybe a lot of Erica saying, "Can I make an observation?"
Ooh.
Maybe a lot of Megan only cries in meetings, not on air.
So I'd say like this sucks. And I think
Yeah.
maybe we're not being as emotional right now because we've been processing it for a few weeks now, right?
Yeah.
For a while. It is a big shift. And I think it's like one of those things so that it's like it hurts now, but we can all, I think, sit back and be like, it is the right move.
Yeah, and I think like even so we had a couple conversations and we kind of just said, you know, let's just not make any decisions right now, but take our time and reflect. And I think that, you know, when I came to the decision, I felt ease. And then after, I felt all the things.
Yeah.
Right? CJ came in this morning. She's like, how are you feeling? And I'm like, I mean, I don't know.
The grief train has showed
It's
up.
a lot of grief, and that's just it. And I think it's important to recognize that you know, it's easy to say like, oh, okay, well, like you guys tried and you did such great stuff, and now you'll go your separate ways, and you'll remain friends and everything. You know, you'll do something great and you'll do something great, and that's all well and fine. But at the same time, there's grief in, you know, stopping working towards something.
Yes.
There's grief in, you know, effort and time and growth that you've put into something and yourself. And there's grief in a dynamic shift. And there's grief in, you know, something that you thought was happening that no longer is. So like, I guess my point in this rambling about grief is that like grief can show up in many, many ways and in areas that, you know, may not seem significant in thought, but in feeling they actually are. Like, you know, I think we equated it to like, feel like we're in a breakup and still living together.
Yeah.
Right? Which is weird. And I haven't been through a breakup in a long time.
I was going to say we all didn't anticipate.
Yeah.
You
And
know, that
so
sort of feeling.
everybody's feeling grief that's sitting in this room.
What's really interesting is I think after we made this decision, I saw this like reel come across my page, and I thought this quote was like so good. And it was like, just because you make the right decision doesn't mean it doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
And I thought that was like a really beautiful way to say this, that it's like, I think we can all unanimously sit here and be like, this is the right decision and it hurts.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes making the right decision, like it does.
It hurts.
Right? I think
hard.
it'd be a lot easier. And I think you said it really well. I think for the sake of what we all want for our lives individually and the podcast life that it is like, I think we really took a step back and went like, what is the future 6 months from now, a year from now? Like, where are we going to be? And is it worth it? Right? Is that worth it? And to really have that conversation about like, I don't want to say, I guess worth isn't the right thing, but just really acknowledging like that's not where any of us want to end up.
Right. And I think that what just came up is like, you know, if we continue down the path that we were going on, like CJ said this morning, it's a well-oiled machine. We could continue on going and doing the exact same thing that we've been doing, but at what cost? And that cost, I feel, down the line would be our relationships.
Well, and I also feel the quality of the podcast.
Yes.
I do feel the quality of the podcast because I feel that I can speak to myself. I think as relationships, I think would inevitably deteriorate. Maybe this is okay to share. I would probably check out. Like I'd be like, this has now become
A
not
task.
a place that is safe and fun and a space that I want to give time to. So I think just recognizing also what we all need individually, what we all need as a team, what we all need for the podcast, right?
Well, and I think we talked about it on, I don't know when this is coming out, but another solo episode that we've recorded today, surprise. You know, but we talked about the importance of actually like reflecting on your decisions and how many people just like march forward, continuing the same habit over and over and over, you know, and I'm really freaking proud of all of us for showing up and being like, we could just sit on this well-oiled machine, but then probably lose something very valuable and more valuable than the podcast and then business.
Yeah.
Right. But we've all taken the time to stop and reflect and say, what do each of us individually want at the end of the day?
And
right?
what do we need?
And what do we need? And have a safe space for all of us to be able to voice that and then walk through that. And so, like you guys have said, I echo that this is the right decision, but a hard decision. And it doesn't mean that it doesn't come with emotions and with challenges. And I think that we would ask, even of our community, that you give us grace.
Yeah.
You know, as we walk through this, right? And obviously, I think that we want to bring you in on this journey.
But I think like I'll reiterate too that like there's no drama here.
That's what I mean.
Right?
I'm just like,
there's no drama.
There's none.
I was going to say, are we willing, not that this is supposed to be an interview at all, but I just thought of this because this has been a part for me and my, these two are anxious 1 and anxious 2, but I've experienced some.
I'll miss my anxious buddy.
I'll
Thing
make
one
you
and
a
thing two.
pillow.
Okay. So my thought is, why am I holding my?
I'll hold you a pillow. You know what I'll do is I'll hold a pillow in the podcast going forward, and that'll be representative.
Can we put my face on it somewhere, just like hidden?
But blurred out eyes.
This is not the aesthetic I'm going for.
not the
That's not the
aesthetic we're going
brand.
for.
We'll figure it out.
My thought was openly sharing that and we can cut this out.
I think it's important to share
It's
how
like
you
I've
feel.
really been worried about our community and also the impact, because I feel we've had impact on our community. And I think, what's been really interesting for me is navigating being the one that stays in the podcast and what will that look like?
Yeah.
How will that feel? I think I love that you're like, there's no drama. Cause I'm like, I know for me, I've had a lot of anxiety about like going to things and having people ask me questions. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I'll just wear a shirt that says I heart Megan everywhere. So everyone knows.
I heart Megan and listen to the episode because that's the truth.
Episode 54.
Scan the QR code to get to the episode.
Scan the QR code to get to our video statement.
That's what you'll be for Halloween.
Oh my gosh.
The giant QR code.
Hilarious.
So I was thinking like that's been, I don't want to be like, that's been my biggest, but I've had that and I'm interested then CJ and Megan, if you're open to sharing kind of like I said, mine is like, I've been feeling anxious about our community, how it will impact all of us and the podcast moving forward with it. And I'm curious on like what you've been feeling about it.
I think like, let's be honest, people like a story and they like to know what's going on and they like to be, we've always been very open and accessible. And I think that's why we're doing this episode is to like just be very transparent and answer the question that like literally we're 3 adults who came to this decision because the way we're doing things isn't working. We've tried to make adjustments. We've all done a lot of work. And at the end of the day, there's just some misalignment, which isn't bad.
Well, and that's an interesting piece because business partnerships. So as we were going through all this, I Googled business partnerships and failure rate. It's high. It's 80%.
Yeah.
Good luck to us, CJ.
Cheers.
But
Cheering you guys on.
The next one to fall.
But I was like, what's very interesting is that realization. And I think sitting in that a little bit, and not that would like have impacted, and like we'd already kind of come to our decisions when I started to like look at this stuff. But I was like, when you're one of those percentages and you're like, but at least we still like love each other. And at least we got to a place that it wasn't ugly. And it was an opportunity to try something and to go for something. And I think all 3 of us would sit here and be like, yes, choose your business partners wisely. And I don't think like that's not to be like we didn't think about things, but I'm like, I think now we look back and we're like, oh, like we maybe could have had more conversations before launching into this.
Well, there's just so much excitement.
However, I don't regret the last year, and I don't regret doing what we've done as a team. Because I think it's been a really cool experience, and now it'll just be a little different.
Yeah. And I think that an important point to make too is a business partnership. Like you are in bed with these people that you're in business with, and you learn things about each other along the way. And, everybody.
How much Megan likes to procrastinate.
Erica knew that already.
I know.
I just had to try and bring humor. I'm
I
sorry.
like walked right into that.
Erica's like, we'll see what happens. But that everybody has different like ways of doing work and stuff like that. And then sometimes it jives together and sometimes it's a struggle and sometimes you figure it out and sometimes it's like, okay, this just isn't working for me.
Yeah, call it. Right?
So I'd rather have you guys than the podcast. And that's fine.
Yep. And I think, I don't know, is there anything else we have to like think about?
You went like this and
I don't
you stopped.
remember.
It flew out your brain.
No, I think that you guys have said it really, really well. And I think that there's a few episodes that are going to still come out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that we want you guys to be able to enjoy those last episodes because obviously we batch and we pre-record, right?
Yeah.
And so there are a few more episodes with the 3 of us and you can sort of savor them and enjoy them. And then there will be a transition. But I think the most important thing to know is that we as adults entered into something and we would encourage others to try
what I was
things.
trying to say before.
Right?
There it is. Yeah.
Right. And we don't regret anything that we've done. You have to go, you have to try for it, but then you also have to be willing to have the hard conversations and sometimes let things go or adjust if needed. And I feel like
Yeah.
so many people aren't willing to have the hard conversation, and then things blow up
Yeah.
and get very,
Yeah. And that I just think for all three of us would not be an option, right?
no.
And I was thinking about the conversation we had in Canmore when I gave the analogy. We were just
like, when did we go to Canmore?
we're in Canmore.
In July.
In July.
It was really
Megan?
smoky.
It was really smoky.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about that analogy when we were talking about like making decisions and how sometimes I think this is going on a tangent about business partners and stuff, but I think sometimes people make a decision and it's like stepping stones. So they like step forward because they've made a decision and they view backing out of that decision or changing that decision as a step back.
Yes.
And I told Megan and CJ, I don't think it's a step back. I think it's a step sideways. And sometimes it might be like
Onto a new path.
onto a new path. It might be just like a little ways up. It might be to the side. I'm like, but I'll reiterate what CJ said. I'm just so proud of us that I think we didn't get caught up in being like, well, if we make this decision, it all goes to crap and we're failing and we should just keep pushing through for the sake of how things look. Like we really dissected it all and just decided to take that step in a different direction. I think really graciously and with a ton of love in these conversations. And so
much.
yeah.
That's
the thick of it. That's the tea.
That's the tea,
Hope you boiled some water.
Get a biscuit while you're at it.
I love a biscuit.
In honor of Megan. Bring your biscuits.
Butter your bread.
Butter your bread.
Anyways, I feel like that's kind of it. We're all very proud of each other and we're all really I like what CJ said about our community giving us grace and all of us grace as we transition and
Yeah, and just showing us love, whatever that looks like to you, because we all are showing love to each other and we all support each other in this, right? And I think that, if you haven't listened to Lisa Gregg's episode on grief, go listen to it. Shout out to her. But, we're about to all we're already in, the stages of grief, right?
Yeah.
And so that will just look like it looks like, but there's so much love and respect. And we wanted to be as open and honest with you guys.
And you know what's cool? Actually, I just thought of this and then we can wrap up because I'm on this whole business partner thought process right now with us. Is like, I think this is actually a really cool opportunity to show
Yes.
that you can do it. You can do it if you're in a space where you're like, this isn't working.
Yes.
And I don't know how to have these conversations or I can't see the other side because I think my fear before we really came to the conclusion was like the unknown was so scary. Like, is it going to blow up? Is there going to be anger? Is our community going to hate us? Are we going to lose our community? What's going to happen? We still had to take that step without knowing the other side, but because we all took it together. And I think it's an example of like when you and your business partner really love each other and you can come to a place of being like, how do we lead with like excellence and like with grace and gratitude for each other, right? Now other people, like there is hope and like there's still life after it. And I think the grief part is really big because it does feel like the death of something almost.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just hope like maybe if you're out there and you're listening to this and you're in a situation where you're like, I love my business partner, but I don't know what to do. Maybe this can encourage you to be like, just start a conversation, start a dialogue, which is what we did.
Yes. And it's uncomfortable and it's hard, but once you're in it, it gets a lot easier.
And we were very honest.
Yes.
We did not do the female thing, which is
Skirt around.
I mean, it's okay. It's fine. No, we were really honest.
Well, and I think we also took time to reflect.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So came in, had a conversation. We were as honest as we each could be in that conversation, and then gave really space to reflect.
Yeah.
Came back, had another really honest conversation, and just continued that forward until we got to the place where we needed to be.
Yeah.
Right? And I think sometimes you think all of it needs to be figured out right now, and we really went in steps and phases.
Yeah.
And we just held a safe space for everyone to be open and honest. And I think you can't be honest with others if you're not honest with yourself. Yes. So I think the first step is getting really honest with yourself and what you want your business, your future, your life, your family, whatever to look like.
Yeah. I think that was perfectly put.
All right. So enjoy the next few episodes with all three of us.
Yes.
And then we highly encourage you, if you want to stay connected with Megan, to go check out her business mentorship page, which it's essentially Megan. And then also the Elizabeth Lynn jewelry pages where you'll get to see Megan's beautiful face.
We'll link her in the show notes.
Link me in the show notes, guys.
Tap
I
to
love
shop.
you. Love you both. And I love this community. I'm really proud of us.
I'm proud of us
Same.
too.
Love you too.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Adios. Thank you everyone for joining us on this episode of the Her Podcast. If you want to follow along with us, you can find us on Instagram and TikTok at its.her.podcast. We can't wait to see you there.
Bye.
Adios.